Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today I've got a big old news roundup for you guys. A lot of things have happened throughout the week I haven't had the chance to cover, so we're going to go over everything here. The new vehicle counts are now live, of course, so we've had a chance to try those out. Some people like them, others not so much, but there are several things that I think could be improved on that front. DICE is searching for a new game director, in fact for the multiplayer of the next Battlefield game. Lis Missile is hopefully getting fixed, and DICE want your feedback. As always guys, before we do jump into the video, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. The current goal is 48,000 subscribers. We're only, I think, about 200, in fact less than that off, so any support you guys can give me, as always, is massively appreciated. Alright, let's begin with the topic of the week, shall we? So I'm sure as those of you who play Battlefield 2042 found out on Tuesday, DICE have updated the vehicle counts for all of the maps in the game. Now, unfortunately, most of the changes here are for the 128 player versions of the maps, or I should say more of the bigger, more impactful changes. And so unfortunately, the only 128 player maps we can play this week are Orbital, Renewal, and Stranded, because they're having this little Season 2 throwback event to go hand in hand with the Conquest Assault and Week 2 of Redux. And I'm going to go ahead and assume that next week we're going to have like a Season 3 week where they've got the new Redux game mode, and then they've got the Season 3 map Spearhead and the reworks that took place during Season 3. So out of these three maps, I would say the one that has arguably seen the biggest change is Renewal. On both the 64 and 128 player versions of this map, we now have 3 pieces of heavy armor instead of 1 or 2. Now, what DICE I'm sure intended here is that people will be spawning in tanks, they'll be pushing flags, they'll be making their way through that wall on Renewal, but unfortunately, what seems to be the reality is a lot of players are spawning in railgun tanks. So what you now have is 2 Wildcats, and this is especially bad if you're playing against, I think it's the Russian side, whichever side spawns in the desert side of the map. You'll have 2 Wildcats and up to 3 railgun tanks camping, sometimes as far back as the deployment. And what that means for the other side is that if you're in a jet or you're in a helicopter, you cannot go anywhere near the top of that wall, or you will just be insta-gibbed and destroyed. Now, Wildcats and railgun tanks being able to camp in spawn and shoot targets across the map is a problem in and of itself, and I know that DICE are already looking into some of these problems, but I think it's a good example of how these new vehicle counts can, I don't want to say be abused, but not be used in the way that DICE really intended. And of course, on the other end of the spectrum, we have yet to get our hands on maps like 128 player Exposure, where we are now going to have 3 attack helicopters. That could end up the same way. Maybe you'll have 3, crack shot duos in attack helicopters just decimating the enemy team, or you'll have 3 Nightbird pilots that are all just really, really good. Who knows how that's going to play out, right? We're going to have to wait and see there. But what I would really like to see DICE do is double down and separate all of the vehicles out from their categories. I think it was after Battlefield 4 and maybe Hardline that they started to group the different vehicles in categories, and instead of having a spawn token for each and every vehicle, you now had a spawn token for the category, right? So you have your heavy armor category in 2042, and you can select any of the heavy armor vehicles. You have the attack helicopter category, and you can spawn in as any of the 3 attack helicopters. But what I would like to see is a separating of these vehicles, and maybe we don't need to see every single vehicle on every single map. Maybe on one map, you only have access to the attack helicopter. On another map, you've got access to the Nightbird instead. Maybe on some of the larger maps you do have access to the railgun tank, but on some of them you don't. I think it would offer a little bit more flavor to the gameplay, make the maps and the variety a little bit more unique, and honestly make DICE's balancing life a lot easier as well. I can understand why they go with the category system, player freedom and all that. They want to give you the best chance possible to counter the enemy team, but I honestly think this system brings more problems than it solves. Okay, moving on here, it appears that DICE are searching for a new game director for multiplayer for the next Battlefield game. So the previous game director was of course Lars Gustafsson, so it was definitely a rather high up position, and honestly I would have thought they'd have looked in-house for this to simply promote somebody who's maybe a senior at the company and has been around for a long time to this position. And at the time of writing of this video, I cannot find this post here. It seems that this job listing has disappeared off of the internet, so I guess they probably filled the post or they've hidden it or something like that. But they say here, we're looking for a creative and experienced game director to join the team responsible for driving the vision for the Battlefield franchise's multiplayer experience. You will work with the creative director to provide the vision and direction for multiplayer Battlefield experiences from the concept phase through production, launch, and live operations. So what I find interesting here is that they say from the concept phase. So presumably they are still in the concept phase of what the next Battlefield game is going to be. That means they're still designing, what kind of game do we want to make. They're making probably playable versions of it to see if it feels good and if they want to fully commit down that road, and that's what the next Battlefield game is going to be. And so since we're not any further along than that level, that likely means that we're only going to be seeing the game, I would say at the earliest, 2025, which I think is the right call. I do want DICE and EA to take their time with the next Battlefield game and make it a good one, but at the same time, as a player and a content creator, it greatly saddens me that 2024 is most likely going to be a very slow year for me and all of you guys who enjoy these games. But it is what it is, I guess. We'll have to wait and see. Now, Runners2 posted a very interesting video on Reddit and indeed Twitter, or X, the other day, and he tagged Kevin, Total FPS, one of the community managers for DICE, and basically he's showing this Lissile with the desync here and how he's getting impacted. So this is the video in question. Sorry for the bad quality. This is ripped straight from Reddit. But you will notice here, if you keep your eyes on the right of the screen, that this Lissile that is incoming here doesn't look like it's going to hit him at all, right? It looks like he's dodging this by a mile, but still he gets a collision there. Now, you might say, and a lot of people have been commenting on his thread here, downvoting it and saying, oh, helicopter overpowered and Liz sucks. But try to set those thoughts aside, right? Regardless of the balance of vehicles, regardless of the balance of Liz in the game and engineers in general, missiles that don't look like they're impacting should not be impacting, because the feedback here to the player is that you have dodged the missile, you're good, you don't need to take any further action. And if you're actually being hit by that missile, well then it becomes pretty much impossible to dodge them. So this has been a problem for a long time, but Kevin actually replied here and he says, I've just passed this through to the team to look into. I agree. I'm also personally seeing it more and more. I also agree with him there. And he says, hopefully we can look to mitigate it. I think this is definitely down to the netcode. You have a helicopter that's flying very quickly through the sky, especially when it comes to the Nightbird, and then you have a Lissile that is being boosted and is also flying exceedingly quick, and sometimes it is difficult for the server to relay with the current tick rate precisely where that vehicle is in regards to your vehicle. So I don't think they're ever going to be able to solve this completely, but hopefully it is going to be improved. And finally here, for anybody who missed some of the Easter eggs from previous seasons, the Season 2 Easter egg is now active. I'm going to leave a link to my video guide on this at the end of the video, and I will also leave it down in the description. I get messages all the time on those guides from people saying, hey Ghost, I've just completed the Easter egg hunt and I did all the things I needed to do, but I wasn't awarded with the player card or the weapon skin or whatever the reward should be. The reason behind that is that those Easter eggs have ended and the reward is no longer available. But it seems with each week of Redux here, they're actually spinning up these Easter eggs again. And since we're on the Season 2 Redux at the moment, the Season 2 Easter egg sort of going into Season 3, so it's like the end of Season 2 Easter egg, if that makes sense, is now active. So I'm going to link that down there for you guys. I can only assume that once we get into the Season 3 content on Spearhead, we're going to have the big Easter egg active there with the cruise missile. That one, I'm sure you guys will have seen it in that map before. You will be able to get the reward from that one as well. So keep your eyes peeled, guys, if you want to get all the rewards from those various Easter eggs. But that is about going to do it for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more Battlefield content. Special shout out to my members for your additional support. That is massively appreciated. You guys are the best. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.